Traders, welcome back to another Relentless recap. As you guys are tuning in, hit that thumbs up button, and if you're a new viewer, consider subscribing to our beautiful channel. So let's talk about today and how we were able to do, which stocks we traded, what patterns and setups we looked for, and how we were able to make $1,185 here on the day. Very small day, chilled out day, not too crazy. We came in, we did our job, and we got out with some green, which is always good. So first we'll start off here. We'll get right into it. Stock VFS. I came back a little later, around I believe 12 p.m. and this stock started to move up here and I got involved. So the very first thing that I'll say is that when these stocks are going up like this is where I tend to do my best. When stocks are just, making new highs after, back to back to back to back is where I'm usually doing my best. So we had highs up at 34.14. We pulled back, and from here, once we started to base out, I didn't take any trades down here because I'm watching and I'm like, I'm a little skeptical. I'm not sure if the pattern is going to hold up very well. I did like that the volume was lighter on the pullback, which is usually a good sign for me and what I'm looking for. Right? When I say volume profile, this is what I mean, referring to the 5-minute charting, looking at the candlesticks, looking at volume relative to the candlesticks that we're having. And so, we essentially had this U shape, more famously known, worldwide as like a cup kind of a situation here. And then, sideways consolidation, which is essentially a small flag or AKA a handle. And this thing ended up pushing up. So I love that we had this pullback here, which I don't believe I capitalized, but it was still good to see that we essentially had a quick opportunity, even if you were not in low. But as we made the new high and pushed up, is where I started getting involved. So making the new high, the small pullback in here. So we had a high point of 75, low of 35. Small pullback in here, then it went higher. And then it continued in the same manner where it would go up, then down, then up, then down, then up, then down, then up, then down, and then up again. And so every time it pulled back, I was using really small size. If I actually had gotten aggressive, like I think even just 1,000 shares, especially if I did 1,500 shares, we could have made a couple $1,000s for sure. A couple thousand. I mean, yeah, a couple thousand because we had some losses. If we had no losses, maybe with 1,000 shares, maybe like 4,500. But with the losses we had, I'd say about like 2,500 with 1,000 shares. But yeah, not bad, right? I was using 200 share blocks and 100 shares as well from time to time. So we did well. We did well on this thing. The very first trade that I had though was an accidental trade where I took 2,500 shares. I only made 7 cents on that trade, but I took 2,500 shares down in this range by accident because I'm using 2 order entry windows up top, trading stock FUCL, which we'll transition into right now. And I made the mistake of typing in VFS and not switching it back. And so I'm thinking I'm trading the same stock. I buy 2,500 shares, and thank goodness I stopped to actually look to see what happened because it felt strange. Like what did I just do? So I went over to this window here to my monitor screen, and I'm like, VFS, I'm up 180. What happened? I didn't trade that stock. So, let that be a reminder to just be careful, guys. Pay attention. Imagine if I bought the stock and it was flushing down with a red candle, 2,500 shares, $25 stock at the time, $30 stock. You could easily, just like that, have a terrible day, down 5 grand, down $2 a share. It could happen at a moment's notice. So be careful out there. Always pay attention and watch out. So FULC, let's talk a little bit about this one. So this is the first stock that I actually traded today. And again, trading it more so in the front side of the move here when we started off throughout the day coming into this, V-Wap area. So let's talk a little bit about the V-Wap breakout and how you can potentially anticipate the move. The first thing is we never go off of one indicator specifically. There's always a collection and or combination of things. So, what's happening here? Let's look at the overall context. So we had a stock that pushed up early morning, 4 a.m. and has been steadily sideways between, let's say, the high here of 594 and the lows of around 530. So there's a range, 60-cent range or so. We're on the lower side of the range. V-Wap is acting as a bit of a midpoint, and that level going into the open was around 550. So we had a low point of 18. The stock starts to curl. We get up to a high of 45. And this is rather quickly, right? This is in the course of 1 minute. From there, it dips. We pull back. We get a low of 34. So from 45 dropping down about 10 cents, I'm watching here to see if the 1 minute candle is going to make the new high. The 1 minute candle does make the new high. And so into that push, we're also getting the break of 550. And so it then becomes the $50 area, right? So there's the $50 areas, or 50 cent rather. There's the whole dollar of, 1, 2, 3, so forth, right? Areas. And a lot of the times when these stocks are going up through these levels, can we break out and start to hold? And so that's what I was looking for here. So it turned into a, there's multiple, let's say, patterns coming in as well as indicators. So at this time, volume started to increase. The 1 minute candle makes the new high. And then we start to break above 50. And then we start to hold above 50. So there's like 4 things happening in one right here. And when I noticed that, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna jump back in despite the price being higher. And we get all the way to 564. So there's 14 cents over the level of 50. It pulls back and holds up 50 to the penny. From 50, it rips up to a high of 63. There's another 13-cent window. It drops back down to 50 again. And then from 50, it rips up now for a new high at 80. I did take the dip here again. And then I sold at like 59, I think, or maybe mid 60s. And I did not get back in for the break of 70. So I did miss between, let's say, 66. Yeah, I missed 66 area to about 75. But it pulled back slightly and then ripped up some more. So I got a little piece of the action going up. But unfortunately here, it gave everything back. And I got concerned that, hey, this thing might be finished. Well, luckily, we held up from 46. And we got up there to 78. And then from 78, we got up to 88. And then eventually we made our way all the way to a high point of 623. Very solid stock, very solid move. I did have a little bit of a hard time earlier. I did better when we were breaking through 7, or breaking through 6 rather. And the pullback was a little tricky. If you were to buy this 5-minute pullback here, it would have stopped you out, maybe down here. Hopefully for a tight stop, small loss, right? Because it came down aggressively. It started to curl, and because the curl up was a little aggressive, I started thinking like, are we going to see new highs? And so I tried to get involved, but again, very choppy for me in this area, man. Not good. Not good.